Hey YouTube, welcome. Doing a special unboxing today. A lot of usual stuff, some Rolex, some AP, a few other things, along with one of the new releases from Patek Philippe, so stay tuned. How we live? We are live on TikTok, Instagram. Got a couple of bodyguards with me today because I have a $17 million watch. No, I'm just kidding. Wanted to give the new guys some chance on camera. I have to say, we're doing wonderful. Starting with, what's the reference number?
116512.
It's a 116503.
503.
The diamond dial guy you did.
Yeah, there it is.
Hello. Kyle, come back to the unboxing. I'm not going to get into market pricing. That's what Adrian is usually here for. But I will tell you this. Two-tone Daytonas, diamond dials have been flying off the shelves as of recent. This is probably the third one we received in the last week or so. These things are popular, and rightfully so. It's the most popular watch in the world, Daytona, #1 selling model. Granted, we're talking about the steel model, but it's, thanks. Speaking of the best-selling brand, let's go to the second best-selling brand, and that's, I'm gonna let David pronounce this one.
Cartier.
Cartier Santos two-tone. Again, two-tone watches have been on a rise once again. It's become a popular thing. Two-tone used to be sort of that in between. I can't really afford the gold watch. I don't really want the steel watch that's kind of plain Jane. I want a two-tone watch. One of the most iconic watches out there, the Cartier Santos. More iconic than, let's say, a Rolex Sub or Cartier Santos to make it comparable. Obviously, the history behind it, anyone? Oh, look, Nick wants to say something. What is that? What is this hat? Are you guys having bad hair today?
It's technically the first aviation launcher, first pilot watch.
Very true.
Made by Louis Cartier because his friend Louis Santos was bitching at a party that he couldn't actually time his flights. So Cartier was annoyed, made a watch for him, pretty much took a pocket watch.
And what was he famous for, that guy?
Santos
Dumont.
He was a pilot.
It's a Brazilian pilot.
But what was he famous for?
Oh yeah, he had the longest running flight time before the Wright brothers.
Oh, very good.
There we are.
Okay, you can go now. All right, Frank Muller.
Oh, Vanguard.
How did this make it in here? So Frank Muller has been this brand that's been super duper quiet. And the reason it's been quiet, I'll tell you guys a story. So when we were first starting out in this whole internet watch business, which nobody believed in and never in a million years thought that this whole internet thing would work out, especially a lot of the ADs, what we used to do is we used to literally scrape pictures from the manufacturer's websites, starting from Cartier all the way down to Muller and Zenith, and we used to post them up, put them up there at a discount, because we knew we can call a dozen of ADs and get this watch, let's say 35 off, 30 off, 40 off, whatever the discount may be. Some companies started sending cease and desist, right? You're not authorized to sell this product, this, that, and the other, but all we're doing is reselling. We weren't doing anything illegal. Dub does the gray market, obviously. And what happened was, Frank Muller was the one that was so insistent. Most of these letters I ripped up and threw out, they never bothered me again, right? Cartier was a little more insistent, Cartier longer, and Frank Muller was the most insistent. So he kept sending letters after letters after letters. At some point I just said, you know what, I don't need this. Screw it, I took off Frank Muller. There's 50 other brands I can sell out there, right? And I said, okay, screw it. And so did every other gray market dealer online, did the same thing. Most other brands foresaw the future, understood that there's no way A, they can stop this, and B, they realized that this was free marketing for them. Rootbeer, or I should say GMT Full Rose Gold. Adrian called the RM1103, the full gold version, the gold medal. To me, this signifies a gold medal, and you know what? This watch should receive a gold medal because it and its two-tone counterpart has been a pretty damn good seller for us. I know both of you guys sold a two-tone root beer at least, and somebody just sold one of these as well.
Beautiful.
Again, one of those watches that have come down in price to where it's actually reasonable. No, it is not. It's a
15.5 or 4?
I can't.
15.5. 15.5.
It's a 50. Well, David, shine some knowledge. Why is this a 15? What would be different than 15.4?
So
besides the size of it?
It's running a different caliber, okay, different movement. Also, the clear tell that you can see on the watch, well, just by picking it up, is you have the date wheel that's pushed closer to the crown. As opposed to the 15400 where there's going to be a little bit of a gap. So this one's really straddling.
I think it's slightly bigger too in the 500. But again, these things are still in that $50,000 to $60,000 price range. So they're still kind of trading at that damn near double their MSRP, specifically in the blue dial. So yes, these pieces have come down, but when people's like, oh my God, it's over, the world is crashing in, I'm like, they're still trading at double list. Like, go walk into an AP boutique and try to buy one.
Not to mention the blue dial alone is insane.
Listen, it's always been the popular one. It's funny you should bring that up because I'm always stuck wondering what's going to be the next dial, right? It was, you know, the blue dial became hot, became popular, so on and so forth. Green has become also how green is being safe for like very few specific models along Patek and some other brands, including AP. I wonder if somebody, I'm wanting AP to just go bold, like red dial.
I think I know what color would absolutely seal the deal.
What?
Purple.
So we have the frosted,
frosted purple, Black Panther.
I think Adrian sold that actually.
Yeah.
The purple in that sub, if you could get lost in that watch, in that dial. When you look at that Submariner, the purple dial, by the way, it's sold, but like that thing is beautiful. No, I'm serious. Like just looking at it, I'm like, wow.
So what's so special about this guy?
So here what we have is the FP Journe Elegante.
The FP Journe
So what's interesting about this watch, right, is it has...
You know when he f***s up, he's got to throw in the French accent right away.
And it's a quartz watch, but what's unique about this is that it has a movement which, if you set it down, it stops, right? I believe, what's the time? It times out.
So the idea,
15 minutes?
I forget what the actual time is, but after so many minutes, the watch will stop to conserve the battery, and then when you pick it back up, kind of jerk it or something, it
but
goes
it's for
back.
The wives.
It goes back to the time. Well, actually, a lot of men buy that.
A lot of men buy it, yeah. But so apparently, what it was that a lot of clients, collectors had, watches that they wanted to buy for their wives, right? And they created the smaller Elegante, right, for the wives of the collectors, so they could come back from the AD with something. And then eventually the men wanted one as well, so they created the bigger one.
Well, first of all, the case shape came from the Vagabond from FP Journe. It's known as the watch that you will not change. Supposedly, you will not change a battery in this watch in its lifetime. And there hasn't been a single one of these back to Journe for a battery change yet. Funny you should mention for their wives. A lot of the times, our female clientele, mostly, if you notice, a lot of the high-end ladies' watches tend to be quartz. Because women in general don't want to putz around, set their watches. Every time my wife's watch stops, I hear, set it for me. My wife has never. Thank you. So why? So there's a reason. That's why there's a reason why a lot of the ladies' timepieces out there tend to be quartz, because there's zero maintenance. You'll change the battery every 5 years, and it keeps on ticking. You never have to set it, so that works. So no date sub. I mean. So I'm just gonna quickly. I mean, this is a watch that doesn't need any introduction. I always say Daytona is the most popular watch out there, but I think a sub is a close second, whether it's a no date set or a date sub. So for you, no date or date?
I'm date still, I'm gonna be honest, transparent.
For me, I mean, aesthetically, no date, but just, having the Cyclops is really what shows that it's a Submariner.
Whereas for me, I'm gonna go what you said initially, and I'm gonna say no date because it's just a much cleaner look. More Rolex. So
big box.
Yeah.
All right. Rose Chocolate Daytona. It's funny, this is one of the watches that we discussed in this week's video. I think that popped on Sunday on Luxury Bazaar channel. Hint, hint, subscribe to that channel, please. And that was one of those watches that were inching towards the MSRP. Tell you a quick story about the Rose Chocolate Daytona, not this one. The initial ones that came out was the black dial rose gold subdials and the rose dial black subdials, right? That was a #1 watch bought by men for their significant others in our ex-Soviet pact community. Literally, the amount of Russian wives I knew that had a rose gold Daytona was insane, to a point where I sold my wives because everybody else had it. Back then, that was about a $22,000, $23,000 watch. It wasn't 50 plus, so it was a lot more affordable. But that's a beautiful combination. The diamonds pop really well against the black dial. Let's show it to the people. The diamonds pop really well against the black dial on that. And again, it's a Daytona.
It's a Daytona.
You know what I mean?
I think, honestly, without the Oyster Flex, I find it more feminine. That's correct. With the Oyster Flex, it could go either or, I think.
I personally have a hard time wearing rose, but I know right now, what do you think the most popular Daytona color dial is right now?
Color dial or color metal?
I've seen a lot of green.
Yeah, I mean the green, the yellow green. If you're talking about precious metals, but stainless steel is still going to be #1, right, Anna? So Anna is forever known to throw a curveball my way. And anybody know what this is?
It looks like a Pasha. It looks like a Pasha, like a Genta design. No,
I have no idea. I mean, I could read the name, but I have
what
no
is
idea.
it?
Let's see.
A Zannetti?
Yes, it's a Zannetti watch.
It looks like a Pasha. It looks like a.
It looks like Anna decided to put her hands into my unboxing and throw me a curveball. No, I'm not going to talk about the Zanetta, Anna. But thank you. At least it wasn't the little pink horn. Oh, well, speaking of which, Batman, again.
This will be going today.
Interesting packaging.
Again, these things are still hovering around that 2x retail, depending on condition. They're still selling. They're still a popular watch, and rightfully so. It's a good-looking watch, I think the update. If you look at the update from old subs to newer subs, yeah, granted the bracelet is a little flimsy. You don't have the ceramic insert, but I feel like the Batman or the Batgirl gave the old GMT a huge huge. Facelift, collars in the back, lifting his hand. And the reason for that, ladies and gentlemen, is because Kyle is a humongous Batman fan.
So
Yes.
Can you tell me the difference between a Batman and a Batgirl?
It's the bracelet. So first they came out with the Batman with the oyster band, and then they did it on the Jubilee, the smaller bracelet, and they dubbed that one the Batgirl because.
Well, which one do you prefer, Mr. Sharp?
Because it came second, I guess.
It's really tough. But if I had to pick, I'd still go with the oyster because I think
Batman.
because I think the Batgirl, the oyster, the Jubilee bracelet takes away from the watch a little bit because it's a little bit busier.
Yeah,
that's
I
right.
Marco, Team Batgirl. Marco, if you're there.
I'm Batman all the way.
Somebody with a very small wrist wore this.
Oh, sorry, that's my
But again, some of your older Datejust, right, in gajillion different combinations today, again, sort of are still that entry-level Rolex. It's still an entry-level Rolex that you can pick up under $10,000. And, you know, we don't really get a chance. You guys see our unboxings. You get a lot of Rolexes. You see a lot of the popular stuff. You don't really get to see a lot of these because, you know what, there's not that many in the market because people that buy them oftentimes it's like a first watch, right? Because it's relatively affordable to the other guys. And everybody tends to keep their first watch, right? And that's why they don't really make it back out on the market. Plus that watch is unisex, etc. And again, that's why, you know, for every 3-4 Batman's, girls, and Daytonas, you're gonna see maybe one of those. Watch this be another Datejust out. We have the most popular selling watch in the world, i.e. the Daytona. And this is the Panda because the white is more popular than the black. And the reason for that, I've said it before, is because with a white dial against the black ceramic bezel, the Daytona, the watch itself becomes a lot more prominent, where the black one tends to all blend in. But I'm a fan of the black one, like everybody else.
I prefer it
I'm
as well.
talking to a client right now, and I'm literally telling them the difference, especially with pricing, and he's like stuck on Panda, so I'll need a photo of that.
I will go ahead and let you sell that, and I'll sell the last watch. And when we looked at this watch earlier, the overall consensus was underwhelming, but not underwhelming as a watch, but underwhelming due to the changes. And what we have here, extremely wrapped up with a lot of plastic, is we have the new 5990 with the blue dial. So same watch, stainless steel, the dial is different. I'm gonna have you guys zoom in on that dial. I wish I had the other one to compare to, which had that charcoal black dial. I love the dial, I love the watch. One of the big differences obviously is going to be the integrated buckle. This is such an improvement from all Pateks when they have the butterfly buckle that's integrated instead of having that flip clasp that tends to bend. And, you know, it had a clasp similar to this, and that dates back to Genta design where you have that flip up flap. When I say underwhelming, don't get me wrong, this is a gorgeous watch. The price levels have come down on the new one just like on the old one. I mean, the older ones were trading upwards of $250 when the market was hot. Now they've come down to that $150 mark, which is around where these trades anywhere from $150 to $160. But it's an improvement on a dial. It should have came out with the swatch with the blue dial to begin with and done something different for this year's release. I don't know, make it a millimeter bigger. I don't know, make it a green dial, something, because it's such a subtle change from the old one that it's absolutely ridiculous. That's why we said underwhelming, but not necessarily the watch itself, more just a subtle little change.
It's like Porsches, you know, you see like the traditional, like, you know, shape of the Porsche, you know, kind of that teardrop swoopingness, and like it's a gradual evolution over time, you know?
You're absolutely right. Porsche is a great analogy. It's a great example to show that too. But then at the same token, the Nautilus, 1976. I mean, it's one of those things where it also has not evolved much over the years. If you think about it, all they did is just added stuff to it: chronograph, power reserve, moon phase, and the 5712, the 3710 with the power reserve. There's a lot of things they just added to it, but the shape, the case, design, more or less stay the same. It's just the quality of the bracelet, not as flimsy anymore, better buckle, better case, better steel, better dials and things like that. But that evolved with technology like it did for every brand.
My question real quick is this. Do you think it's risk factor, the slight changes? Because think of this, you have this perfect product, the Pepsi, the Batman. Sometimes you do too much, you ruin it. It's like seeing that third movie of Home Alone or whatever it is. I think the slight changes is test.
You know what ends up happening with you know what happens with companies such as this? They already have all the report that they need. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you know what the worst thing that can happen if they come out with a flop? They discontinue it 9 months later, and it goes to the roof in price. Because if you think about it, a lot of the collectible models from both Patek, from even AP, and specifically mainly Rolex, it's all the fuck ups of the past that
the mismatched dials
that end up being the highest collectible.
Exactly.
Because it's discontinued.
What I'd like to see from Patek is I'd like to see a thinner a thinner Nautilus, kind of like the 3700. If they go back to that and make it...
Well, listen, the 5711 is pretty much the exact replica of the 3700, so it's already thin. I mean, if Patek is not the brand to go that ultra thin route, to jump on the wagon of Piaget, Vacheron, Bulgari, and now Richard Mille, who made literally a paper thin $2 million watch, which, by the way, guess what? Go find one.
They got the least experience.
Not available. Guys, I want to thank you for tuning in. One thing I'm going to ask you guys, what are you? You're
ChronoKev. I already knew where you were going. Instagram ChronoKev.lb.
Deals.buydave.lb.
Give these guys a follow. You won't regret it. Thank you so much, everyone. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.
Follow your boy, 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏